What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of the best wide receivers to study on film. So these are some guys that you guys can, after you watch this video, maybe you want to go check out some of their tape, some of their film, and take away some of the key things that they like to do and add it to your game. So this is something that I know I did a lot of when I was a player. I was always studying the guys at the top of their game. That's why personally I kind of made this channel around that, because I feel that's one of the best ways to learn. You pull things from the best guys in the world and add that to your game. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and let's say you maybe don't have a lot of film, maybe you're a younger guy, maybe you're sitting behind a senior, maybe you're just now entering high school and you still want to get started with the recruiting process, check out that very first link in the description for a full blog post on how wide receivers can get recruited without any film. So it's going to talk to you about the ins and outs of the recruiting process, what you need to do and what you can do without film to stand out. So I hope you guys can check that out. We'll give you a lot of value. Very first link in the description. Let's get started with this video. So first things first here, DeVante Adams, right? The best guy that you could probably study because of just everything he does from off the line, top of the route, whatever it is. Now, if you're like that guy who's maybe like, 6 foot to 6'2", or maybe you're even a slot, this is a great guy to study. Anybody on the field can study this guy because he plays out of the slot, plays outside. This guy can do it all, right? And that's how you got to be as a receiver. You got to be able to play both spots. I ask guys all of this all the time. Hey, what do they got you playing? They got you playing outside slot. And more often than not, the guys who are at that level who can really play, they're like, no, they got me playing everywhere, coach. It's like, yeah, that's what you want to be able to do. And this is a perfect example. So the main things that you want to study about his game is just off the line. You see how sudden his feet are, right? That suddenness off the break where he gives that quick, just 1-2, that little hezzy skip that he likes to do. That's something that every receiver can apply to their game, right? Now, the thing is that we're going to be looking at 3 separate receivers here. They're all 3 in different offenses, and all 3 of them are asked to do different things, right? So when they're at, but the thing is that we're going to look at the key consistencies. That's what you guys got to be focused on, because you might be a pro-style offense, and then when you get to college, you might be running an air raid system, right? Like, so there's different things that they're going to be asking you to do, but what we can do is we can pull from the guys at the top of their game and add that to our game, right? So the suddenness of his feet is something that I think is very, very not talked about, right? You're on Sunday Night Football, I was talking about, oh, he doesn't use his hands. It's because he sets them up with his feet, right? His feet are so dang quick, and he's smart. Everything he does looks the same, and everything's built off this little like hesitation skip that he does right here. This is something that everybody can do and everybody can apply to their game, is that when you're coming off the line, make your releases look the same, right? Because that's how you keep a DB guessing. A smart DB is going to study it. He's going to know what you're going with. He's going to know the moves you're doing, and he's going to be able to fish you out if he's smart, right? But if you make everything look the same off the line of scrimmage and you could do everything the same way but a little bit different in some aspects depending on the route, that's going to get you all the separation in the world. You should have 5 different releases in your head that all look the same at a certain point, right? Whether it's just a wide step, whether it's a double tap, whether it's a triple step, whatever it is, you have 5 different things in your head ready to go that you can apply, but they all look the same. That's the main key. Now, another thing that we look at with Adams is how smooth he is in and out of breaks, right? How he's able to drop down. Like, I don't think you understand how hard this is running this route in the snow. You know what I mean? I remember I posted this a little while back and people were saying how lazy the route was. I'm like, what are you talking about lazy? Like, just because he wasn't going 100 miles an hour and he's in the snow, that makes this route lazy? This is so freaking hard to do. And him being able to change direction in 2 steps like this in the snow, actually be a salesman on the route and get this DB to overcommit, that's what you guys should be studying. That's what you guys should be looking for. How do these guys get separation? It's off the line, they're sudden with their feet, top of the route, they're sudden with their breaks, and they're violent with their hips, and they're able to accelerate out of this route and be able to run. There's another thing that Adams does very well that not a lot of people talk about. At that break point, so many young receivers make this mistake. They'll have this great, superstar level break where they drop their hips, they'll do a rocker step, they make these big, long, exaggerated cuts, and then they don't accelerate. And it's like, there's no point in doing this stuff at the top of the break. There's no point in dropping my hips like this if I'm not going to accelerate out of it. And you watch the best guys top of their game, they're more concerned with winning the race to the ball than getting separation with the DB. And that's how we have to think if we're going to take that step to be that next level receiver. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job being sudden with his feet, being patient, having his releases look all the same, and then getting in and out of this break. So now we're going to be looking at Antonio Brown here. This is what I always recommend. Everybody asks me, like, hey, coach, I'm a short receiver. Who can I study? Antonio Brown. That's just, I don't care what your opinion is on the guy. Probably one of the best at what he does, right? Probably one of the best route runners to really ever play the game. And this is what we're going to be focused on today. We want to talk about how he's able to get separation, maybe not being the biggest guy on the field, right? Another great guy to study would be Tyreek Hill, right? Like Tyreek Hill, I know he's fast. I know he's got that 4.2 speed, but trust me, what the guy does is surgical. What it is it's so important to understand the little things is what gets you open. Let's watch the thing again, full speed. So when he comes off here, he gets that quick little shake, gives that little stutter, and then snaps this thing off real quick. Now, as a shorter guy, right? maybe this guy maybe isn't bigger, right? Maybe this guy isn't like a huge linebacker type that you're going to be going up against, especially when you're coming out of the slot. But when you're a shorter guy, like let's say you're competing for a job, right? Like let's say you're trying to compete to be the guy, and the guy who's ahead of you is maybe like 6 something or 6 whatever, and he's pretty good, right? He's a pretty good receiver. You got to do all the little things better than him. You got to do the details better. The details matter. The devil's in the details, right? And that's what the receiver position is. It's very, very detailed, right? So when you're a smaller dude, how you get separation is by that quickness, right? You see like AB, you can't really see his feet here, but he kind of goes with this little split release, little head fake to the inside. This has got to be so crisp, and this has got to be your bread and butter when you're a smaller dude. Because when you're a smaller guy, like when you come off the line, you got to use range, you got to be sudden, and that's how you get separation. So AB is one of the best guys to do that. When you see him go up against a physical dude, it is rare that he gets just pressed. You hardly see him get pressed off the line because of how quick he is, how he understands range, and how he's able to just like split then go, right? Now, again, top of the route is where we make our money, right? Top of the route, getting off the line is just keeping that timing with the quarterback. The DB's cool with that. He's going to play me downfield. He's going to be watching my hips. He's going to try to stay disciplined, right? So that's where at the top of the route, like I said, that's where I get paid. That's where I make my money. So you see how when he comes here and he gives this little hesitation skip, right? Very, very detailed. I'm completely detailed of a route because that part of the route doesn't necessarily matter a whole lot to most guys. They just take off. They run full speed. Okay, I'm going to drop my hips at the break point, right? But him adding this little hesitation skip really gets that DB thinking. It gets him to sit down. But everything has a purpose. Everything that you do on the field, it has a purpose. You're never just doing it just to do it, right? Everything you're doing is setting up something. Maybe he's going to give this stutter, and then later he's going to go run a fade and just beat him with speed. You've seen him do that a million different times. But now he's going to give this stutter, push vertical, or maybe he's done that before. Maybe he's given that little stutter, and then he's just ran off, and then we beat him on a fade. So now this DB's thinking about it. He's seen it before. So now I do the exact same thing. I got great pad level. I'm getting into a break, and you see what he does? Bam! Snaps on the inside leg. When you guys are running this stop route, it's not a curl route. A curl route, you want to go with this leg. On a stop route, you want to drop with the inside leg, then pop the outside leg around. So you see how he's here. Just 4 steps in and out of this break, is able to completely decelerate and completely come to a stop in 4 steps, because that's the details that you need when you're maybe not the biggest guy on the field to create some separation. And hell, even not the fastest guy. Antonio Brown is very fast. But if you're not the fastest guy, the details also matter. What you lack in speed and size, you will make up for if you got the details correct on the actual route itself. That's a great example of how the details matter, how a shorter guy can get separation, how you can get back to the ball. Okay, let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. So great job giving that 1-2 off the line of that split release, and then dropping this thing off, giving that little hesitation skip. That's a great job. Okay, so now third receiver I feel you should study, and I think these are newcomers, so I really enjoy this. I think there's going to be a lot more great clips to come here in the next few years, but it's Justin Jefferson, right? And we're going to be talking, my main comparison to him for him is probably going to be DeVante Adams, just because of these next 2 clips that I'm about to show you. And another thing, though, if you're a bigger guy, I get this question a lot. They ask, who should I study? Who should I study? Julio Jones. That's the number 1 guy that you should study. I didn't include him in this video, but I think that if you're a taller guy, you're on the bigger side, like 6'3" and above, Julio Jones is probably the best guy that you can look at and probably the best guy that you can learn for. Also, I like Mike Evans. I think he's very underrated as well. But let's focus on Jefferson for right now. So we're going to talk a lot about off the line again, right? Because so many people ask me about off the line. How can I beat press? And again, there's a perfect example of another guy who makes it all look the same. So you see how he gives, this is his bread and butter. He gives this little hezzy skip to the outside, and then he just goes, he'll give a hezzy skip like this, and then take off on a diamond release and run a slant, and he'll give a little hezzy, gives him an in-out move, and then breaks to the outside. So we're going to be looking at 2 clips here. So you see how he gives him, he's going to be running this slot fade, hesitates, just takes off, right? When we get this DB to be on the inside, if I'm going here and this DB sits to the inside of me, and let's say I feel like I could beat him and I got some space to the outside, I'm just going to take off and go, right? Now, let's say maybe he jumps to the outside with me. I could slide. I give him that 1-2 to the inside, maybe get him to sit, and then I could burst back up to the outside. You could do whatever you want with the DB and react off of him when you make your releases look the same, right? But again, he just gives a little hezzy skip, and it's just to win the race to the outside. Let's beat him with speed. Let's work my hands downfield and make this catch. So now let's look at this other release. So kind of the same scenario, right? But now, what did I talk about in the very beginning of the video? He's able to play in the slot and he's able to play on the outside. You got to be 2-dimensional. You can't be just that, oh, I'm just an X. I only play on the left side of the ball. Probably the worst thing that you could do. That really bothers me when I hear receivers talk about that. They go, oh, well, I'm only good on the left side, coach. That's the side that I play. You got to work both dang sides, man. There's not an excuse. That's never something that you want to be able to do. That's never an excuse that you want to be able to make, right? So when he comes off here, let's talk about this. So he gives the same hezzy skip, 1, 2, 3, right? So he gives that kind of diamond release, gives a move to the inside. And again, not the most separation in the world, but it still keeps the DB guessing. And it looks the same, right? It's not every release is going to punk him, right? But again, from at certain point, these two releases that we just looked at look the same, right? So he comes off here, little hezzy skip, then he takes off. He's going 1, 2, 3, 4. So that even builds off the diamond release, right? You give that little hezzy skip and you take off 3 steps, get him to turn his hips, then I run a slant. Now maybe I take 3 steps, so I give it a little skip, then I go left, right, and I make that move to the inside, then I slip back to the outside. Again, another thing that looks similar to what he was doing before. That's what you guys got to understand about press releases. It's all about making your routes look the same. It's not about having 20 different things, 30 different things, 40 different things that you could work. You want to learn all those things, don't get me wrong, because that's how you structure your plan, right? Because if you probably should know 20 releases, right? But when you take into a game, you should probably only be taking 5 or 6, but they all build off of each other. That's the thing. When you talk a lot about 20 different press releases, the stuff that we offer on our site, all those things build off of each other, because that's the main key to being a great technician off the line. Everything that you do has got to build. Let's watch the thing one more time, full speed. So great job giving this skip, 1, 2, gives that jab off that diamond release. Again, not the most separation in the world, but it keeps the DB on its toes and it looks the same. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. I'll always get back to you. I always appreciate the feedback as well. And then also, fellas, if you want to know how you can get recruited without film, you want to get started with the recruiting process, but maybe you don't have varsity highlights, check out that very first link in the description. We'll definitely help you out. I'll see you guys next time.